We've got a loaded show coming up today on Knicks Now by Chat Sports. According to Jake Fisher, Anunoby is miffed with the Nova Knicks. Not gonna lie, I had to look up what that word meant. So we'll talk about it. He's supposedly upset a little bit with his relationship with the Nova Knicks and his role on this team. And Brian Windhorst, for some reason, continues to link Paul George to the New York Knicks. He did it on ESPN again on Friday, and he did it on his podcast with Tim Bontemps. But before we do, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. We put out free, informative, entertaining coverage every day on the New York Knicks. And we're trying to catch the Los Angeles Lakers report in subscribers, another channel here at Chat Sports. So if you love the Knicks and you hate the Lakers, please hit that sub button and join the channel. All righty, let's start with Fisher. We'll close with Paul George. Jake Fisher says that Anunoby is a little miffed by being like the fourth banana to the Villanova triumvirate. I know I didn't say that right. I didn't even know what either of those words meant. I looked them up, and I said this. Jake Fisher had to go into his SAT word bag, and he still said nothing but BS. Come on, Jake Fisher. Are you serious? OG Anunoby doesn't like playing with Brunson, Dante, and Josh Hart? I just do not buy that. This was his full quote on the topic. Says, quote, "It depends on who you talk to. If you talk to certain people, they'll say OG Anunoby has wanted a larger offensive role dating back to Toronto and has been a little miffed by being like the fourth banana to the Villanova triumvirate, and that's before Julius Randle comes back." I saw that on Twitter. I quote tweeted and I said, a little miffed, huh? The dude tried to play on a severely hurt hamstring in Game 7. He couldn't even run because he wanted to be there for the Villanova triumvirate. Because if you remember, OG Anunoby said I had to do whatever I had to do to get on the court for my teammates. Only reason he wanted to play was for his teammates. If he didn't like them, why would he go the extra mile and risk further injury if he didn't like them? Just connecting the dots. I'm not saying the report is fake, but I don't buy any of it, to be quite honest with you. Maybe this is Leon Rose trying to create a little bit of a narrative and avoid some tampering charges. I don't know. But I do not buy for a second that OG Anunoby is a little miffed with the Villanova triumvirate. We all got a little bit smarter today. I've said this once. I've said this twice. I'll say it again. Anunoby will re-sign with the New York Knicks. The New York Knicks, ever since being led by Leon Rose and Worldwide West, have been the most calculated organization in the NBA. And I find it extremely hard to believe that Leon Rose, with the connections to Anunoby, as his son is one of Anunoby's agents, that they did not at least have a strong indication that if they traded for him, that he would not resign, or that he would resign. They knew when they traded for him that it was likely that pen to paper would happen, and he would sign a lucrative deal to remain with the New York Knicks. And that's what Ian Begley said on Knicks Film School. Shout out to Jonathan Macri and the whole team over there. Check them out. They do an awesome, awesome job. They had Begley on a couple of days ago, and Begley said this: unless OG Anunoby were to go to a different way and, change agents, leave CAA, I just can't see this ending up in any way that it's not OG coming back to New York. And neither do I. I do not see how that happens. Look, he changes agents, then I'll tell you, oh shit, we're in trouble. But that hasn't happened, and I don't see that happening. The max the New York Knicks can offer Anunoby is 5 years, $245 million. The max other teams can offer him is 4 years, $181.9 million. Push that. 4 years, $181.9 million. So, the money is not going to be the issue. The New York Knicks can offer more than anybody. It's going to come down to, are the Knicks willing to give him the money that he wants? And at this point, you've already gotten into bed with OG Anunoby. You better get it done, because if you let him leave for nothing, that's going to be a big fat L on the resume on Leon Rose. And to be quite honest with you, I do not know how the New York Knicks would recover. My prediction has always been Anunoby is a Knick, and he signs a 4-year, $150 million deal. That's been my prediction for over a month now. I'm going to stay there. Maybe he goes 5 years, $200 million. But I think it's 4 years, $150 million. I think that will get it done, and I think that makes OG Anunoby happy. And you know what? He would be the highest paid player on the team. He's trying to secure his bag. I ain't mad at him. Just come be healthy and be productive and do what you do. Because when you're here and you play, Knicks are 20-3 in the regular season. Best team in the NBA. If you want OG Anunoby to re-sign with the Knicks, hit that thumbs up icon for me. I just don't envision a world where it doesn't happen. Like, I'm not trying to be arrogant. I'm not trying to act like I know something or something like that. I just don't see it. I don't envision a world that Leon Rose does not have a strong indication that he could re-sign him if he gave up two young key pieces to this roster. I don't see how that happens. All righty, let's shift and let's close the show today. Excuse me. Why would he do that? Not once, not twice, but what seems like now 5 times this offseason, Brian Windhorst of ESPN connects Paul George to the New York Knicks and pretty much says that the Knicks could be a trade destination for Paul George. Before we give you those quotes, I want to go to this quote of Brian Windhorst, kind of just laying it out there, the situation that George is in right now with the Los Angeles Clippers. Quote, "The Clippers have not been willing to meet Paul George's price. He remains unsigned. You can't just look at teams with salary cap space. If Paul George changes teams, it's very likely going to be a situation where he opts into his contract and requests a trade." And you know what? That's the only way the Knicks can trade for him, or the only way the New York Knicks can add him. If Paul George opts into his contract, everyone should look up and say, yeah. I don't know about that. Michael Scotto, keep that there for a second, and we'll go to the next one. Michael Scotto last summer during the NBA draft reported that the New York Knicks considered a package featuring Obi Toppin, Quentin Grimes, Evan Fournier, and 3 first-round picks in exchange for Paul George. So the Knicks have had interest in George for quite some time now. And you know what? You know why they have interest in him? 1, he's a damn good basketball player. But 2, he's blooded in, man. He's blooded in. He's a part of the CAA Mafia. Windhorst says this as well. The reason the Knicks make sense, if you want a way to deal with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, how about OG Anunoby and Paul George? Look, if you're trying to slow down the Boston Celtics and you want to get to the finals, you're going to have to beat them. And you got to do it on defense. And Paul George and Anunoby, they would be elite perimeter defenders. You would be long, you would have length, you would have physicality, and you would have another guy that when the shot clock dwindles or when Brunson's out of the game, you can run your entire offense through. He will always be connected to the Knicks as long as he is represented by the Mafia. Because as we know, if you're a part of the Mafia, you're a part of some Knicks trade targets. The main reason I would want to trade for Paul George is for what Windhorst said. Beating the Boston Celtics. You need someone to guard Tatum. You need someone to guard Jaylen Brown. And I'll take my bet. I'll take my chances with Paul George and OG Anunoby. Paul George still is one of the best defenders in the NBA. He was 6th in the NBA of qualified players when it comes to deflections per game at 3.0. Dante DiVincenzo averaged 3.0 deflections as well. So you have 2 guys in there that are disruptors off ball, and Anunoby averages 2.6 deflections per game. You would be a very, very good perimeter defensive team. And the thing that I think kind of puts it over the top for me for Paul George of wanting him is the fact that he played 74 games last year. I understand that the injury bug is something that is extremely hard to shake in this league. And once you're an injury-prone player, you're always an injury-prone player. But he played 74 games. And I'm pretty sure over the last 2 years, he's played more games than Julius Randle. Look, the guy this year was healthy, and he was a major difference maker in the regular season, giving you 23 points per game and extreme efficiency from the floor. He was also not that good in the playoffs. And that's what's disappointing for me. You would have thought, with Kawhi Leonard hurt, that it was time for Paul George to step up and be the face of the organization and be the guy that takes the baton and leads you to the next round. But he didn't do that. Shot just 41% from the field. look, I'm totally okay with the raw numbers of 19.5 points per game, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, and I'm cool with him shooting 37% from 3. It was just the field goal percentage that was a little bit low for me. But in totality, when it comes to the idea of the New York Knicks going out there and making an offer for Paul George, the only way that I would be cool with it is if I'm keeping Julius Randle. Like, I need to have a starting 5 that is Brunson, Paul George, OG, Randle, and Mitch. And I also need to have my super subs of Josh Hart and DiVincenzo. If you can remain with that top 7, then yeah, I would trade for Paul George. And you know what? This is probably the best I would offer them. I'd call up the Clippers and I would say, you know what? This is what I'd offer. This is the most I got. I'll give you a young, defensive-minded, offensive rebounding maniac in Mitchell Robinson. I'll give you $20 million of expiring salary, and I'll give you a young, cheap, up-and-coming, limitless player in Deuce McBride, and I'll give you 2 first-round picks. This is the offer I would make for Paul George. If I needed to add another first-round pick, you know what? I'd probably do it as well, because if you have the team that we were expecting the Knicks to be with this player, you're going to be picking in the late 20s. And you know what? I would rather have Paul George than picking 25th and 26th in the draft for 2 years in a row. Would you make the trade? Would you make this trade? The thing that's funny is people are going to respond like, Marshall, we don't want Paul George. He's injury prone. But we're trying to trade an injury prone player in Mitchell Robinson. So I challenge you to give me a reason if you're going to decline it outside of injuries because Mitchell Robinson is more injury prone or just as much as Mitchell Robinson. Look, I'm accepting this. You could say the Knicks are giving up too much. I would ask, what are the Knicks giving up? 30 games of Mitchell Robinson? Bojan Bogdanovic is a 37-year-old unathletic player that only provides you a three-point shot at this point, and he got hurt. Like, you're giving up Deuce in first-round picks. Like, let's keep it a buck. Let's keep a spade a spade. You're giving up Deuce McBride and multiple first-round picks for Paul George. Yes, you do that trade. Because if you have a roster like this, if this is your top 8, if you can run a starting 5 of Brunson, Paul George, OG, Randle, and Hartenstein, and you have DiVincenzo, Hart, and Achua off the bench with still the ability to go out and sign veterans, still having that taxpayer mid-level exception, go out and add another backup point guard, and you still would probably have a pick in this draft. Like, I know a lot of people are like, I don't want to give up Deuce. Well, you got to spend money to make money. Any team that's doing a deal with the Knicks this summer, they're going to want Deuce McBride. You know why? Because he's a good basketball player, and he's cheap. It's one of the better top 8s in the league. And I think you can go toe-to-toe with the Boston Celtics. And I think that's what the Knicks need to think when building this roster. How do we beat the Boston Celtics? With Paul George, OG, Brunson, Randle, Hartenstein, Dante Hart, and Achua, with another rookie, and then potentially signing Kyle Lowry to come off the bench or another player. Yeah, I think you got the best shot in the NBA to beat him. But that's just me. That's just my take. If you disagree, I need a reason besides injury prone, because you can't tell me that the Knicks are better. You can't tell me the Knicks are better if they don't do that trade, because they're just not. Make sure you are following me on social media. I'm on Twitter. I'm on IG. Hit me up over there, and let's go Knicks.